Hello and welcome to our YouTube Zen Mama Tribe. I'm Jackie and we're going to be looking in our yoga at home this week at a breathing technique that can help you with the discomfort of pain. So it's probably quite a good little technique to practice maybe before your Labour Day. Now pain, I don't really like using the word pain so much because I very much see and view labour, done it a couple of times, taught a few hundred, maybe even a couple of thousand people this technique around my local area and over the last 10 years, and they've all used this technique to help them. So you know, like the uterus is just a muscle. So that's the first thing to start getting our head around, is that this uterus muscle, all right, the uterus muscle that we're going to use to absolutely engage, or it's going to be engaged during our labour, during our birthing, it is just a muscle. And fair enough, possibly it's a muscle that you haven't felt work before, if you're a first time mum. And if you're a second or third time mum and perhaps didn't use any techniques to help you the last time, then I would say definitely swat up on some techniques, because there's loads of techniques that can help you through labour, all right? And labour, I'm not saying that labour is a walk in the park, and it is for some people who really practice breathing or hypnobirthing techniques, all those kinds of things, or if you're just somebody who it just goes perfectly well for. But for some of us, myself included, second time around I had an amazing, beautiful birth, but it was something I worked at, and I did loads of preparation for birthing before I got to that Labour Day. In fact, I trained as a hypnobirthing practitioner before I got to my second labour. You don't need to do that, but there are 2 or 3 breathing techniques that I always teach in my pregnancy yoga classes that are absolutely so helpful and fundamental to helping us guide ourselves through labour. So first of all, we're going to spend this whole of this 10-minute practice, however long this kind of taster session is on YouTube, just considering this today. So first of all, I want you to get a block, all right, or a cushion or something like that, and I want you just to raise your hips a little bit higher, so that you can really engage and really see your belly, all right? So I want you to really be engaged with, yes, your baby, hello baby, but also to your uterus muscle, all right? So your uterus muscle, you may or may not be aware, is here and all the way around 360 degrees round, and it has 3 muscle layers. So the 3 muscle layers that your uterus muscle has is it has a circular muscle layer. This is the inner muscle layer, circular. Down at the base here, this muscle layer here, these muscle fibers are really thick. And the reason why these muscle fibers are so thick are because they don't want to drop your baby before it is time for you to birth them, all right? So it's good. And then on top, we have the outer muscle layer. The outer muscle layer is longitudinal muscle fibers. Yeah, so longitudinal muscle fiber layers that go around in this direction. All right, the longitudinal muscle fibers and the circular muscle fibers, they're knotted together by one in the middle. All right, so 3 muscle layers. And what labour is, and listen, all that labour is a muscle working, all right? So if you've ever done a workout of any kind in your life, even just like, I don't know, ran a couple of miles, or, you know, done some kind of fit exercise, or even just had a really long walk and you found it challenging, it's just because it's your muscles. And this is the same as labour. Nothing more scary than just a muscle working, all right? Here's how it works. So the longitudinal muscle fibers, they pull the circular muscle fibers like this, and then they release. Yeah, so they pull and then they release. This is what the midwives, what the health experts will call a contraction, all right? We tend to call it more a normal natural birthing, and by natural birthing I don't necessarily mean that you don't have to have an intervention or an induction or something like that, because these breathing techniques will help you no matter what shape or form your birthing takes, even if it's a cesarean, because these breathing techniques will help to keep you calm. Yeah, so I believe in helping all births, yeah, not just natural vaginal births. But, all right, what we're doing in your natural vaginal birth, or in your induction birth too, is that these muscle fibers are being pulled by the longitudinal muscles, and then they're being released. This is called the contraction, all right? As they're being pulled, all these muscle fibers around the base here, they get tight, yeah, because they're being pulled. And if you imagine that your cervix down the bottom here, yeah, so these circular muscle fibers around here, this cervix, this yeah, is where your baby's going to come out of. We need to get it open to around about 10 centimeters. So these longitudinal muscle fibers that go 360 degrees all the way around here, what they're doing in that contraction is they are pulling these inner circular muscle fibers and then releasing. They're pulling, and as they pull, these muscle fibers around the cervix, they thin, and it is that thinning of these muscle fibers around the base of the cervix. But if you imagine, it's like if your cervix was made out of blue tack, if you kind of pulled and thinned it, that's what creates the opening down here. All right, so this is the sensation that we feel during a contraction, all right, what we tend to call a surge, because it feels like your muscle is surging, all right? So we use that term surge when we're thinking about perhaps more positive birthing. So we need a breathing technique that's going to go into that, all right? So what we do, this is when your surges get nice and powerful. So these are the surges that your midwife will say you can't walk or talk through, all right? And that in itself is quite a kind of scary thought, and it can make people feel a little bit fearful just by that phrase alone. And then I love the NHS with all my heart, and I do work with what's called the MVP, Maternity Voice Partnerships, to really try and provide some kind of change towards preparation for birthing, because it would be amazing if some people could just get some preparation for birthing so that they don't feel so fearful when they walk into it. But yeah, the NHS, they will describe this kind of contraction, and the midwife will say when you can't walk or talk through it anymore, then that's when you know you're going into labour. And for people like me, first time around when I knew none of this, that in itself made me feel a little bit fearful. Like, what does that mean? I can't walk or talk through it. All right, so let's keep speaking about this today. So what this is when you breathe into your belly, you're going to help the movement or the surging muscle, and you're going to breathe into it. All right, so we do a breathing technique just called belly breathing. Yeah, I choose to call it balloon breathing. And the reason why is it feels like you're filling an inner balloon in your belly. All right, so what we do is we breathe into our belly like an inner balloon. And then an equally long, slow breath back out. So breathe into your belly like an inner balloon. And then an equally long, slow breath back out. Let's do one more. So really breathing into your hands. Really inflating your belly, working with the upward movement of the muscles, and an equally long, slow breath back out. Good. So what is this breathing technique doing? It is working with that upward movement of the muscles. You're breathing into it. As the muscle tightens down here, it feels nice to breathe into it. So you're kind of assisting it. B, well, when you breathe to a muscle group, as you are here, you are going to increase the oxygen in the tissues of that muscle fiber, all right? And muscles need oxygen. That is the fuel of the muscle, is oxygen. So the more oxygen we can create around this space, the more fuel, the more productive your muscle's going to be. C, when the midwife say to you, when you get to the surgeries you can't walk or talk through, instead of then saying nothing else, this gives you something to do, all right? So it's like, some people call it a distraction mechanism. I choose to call it a focus mechanism, because I think focusing actually is a really great kind of meditative technique. So we're really focusing on this breath. It gives us something to do. And then D, well, you can, if you want to, focus in a couple of different ways. You can, if you want to, just count into this breath. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and an equally long, slow breath back out. So that count in itself, once you've done that 3 or 4 times, that's going to be a great focus for you during these surges, during these contractions. Breathing into your belly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and an equally long, slow breath back out. Yeah. Or if you're someone that is a little bit more visual, then what might be a great idea is to actually imagine, like I did, that your belly is like filling huge inner balloons. And my balloons were purple, and I blew up big, beautiful purple balloons. And then as I breathed them down and out, and they came down and out of my body, out of my vagina, and they went up into the sky in front of me, and I could see them one at a time. And at the time, my whole body in my visualization was on my favorite beach in Thailand, and I was just chilling out, and here I was enjoying myself, yeah, and just watching my balloons float off in front of me. Yeah, so these are things you can do. Sometimes the right brain likes to be a little bit more creative, and that might be the brain. If you're a little bit more right brainy, then you might imagine these balloons or water or waves or whatever you like. And if you're a bit more left brainy, so someone's a bit more analytical, you know, you're going to like to count maybe, all right? So you just count in and out. Now, whether you count or whether you use the balloon, the joy to this is that once you've counted from 0 to 20, maybe done that 4 times, or whether you've blown up 4 balloons and sent them away, you're never going to have to do that again. Those breaths, that surge is done. And the way to think about your surges, way to think about your surges, is that each one is leading you closer and closer to meeting your baby. You're never going to have to do them again. All right, so this breathing technique is a wonderful focus to use, and you can use it during your surges. It's a brilliant technique. And then after a while, once we're in really good established breathing, and when we're in really good established labor, then what we do instead, or as well, is we breathe into our belly like an inner balloon, into those surges, into those contractions, using your count or your visualization, and then this. So sometimes in yoga, this is called the golden thread breath, bringing the lips together. So if you're breathing some kind of thread, some kind of golden thread out of your lips. I like to call it bubble breathing, because to me, everyone's blown bubbles. And it's the same technique when you're using your skills to really slow down your breath to blow bubbles. So whichever you like to think of, doesn't matter. The point is that you're bringing your lips together, and through the engineering of your lips, you are slowing your out breath down. And what you need to know is when you slow your out breath down, you are upping your levels of oxytocin. Oxytocin is the birth hormone, so it stands to reason why we want big levels of oxytocin. So it's dead clever. In the brain, we have what's called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the central nervous system kind of interchange between the body and the brain. When we do these really long, slow out breaths, we stimulate the vagus nerve and we produce more oxytocin. Yeah. All right. So really brilliant technique to use during your contractions, during your surges, those ones that get bigger when you're in established labor. If you want to know what any of these things mean more, and if you want a lot more information, then our Zen Mama at Home tribe. So if you go to zenmama.co.uk, then there's lots of information on there and other online courses that you can get, hypnobirthing online, birthing toolkit online. But if you want to just practice this breath, then go ahead and just do some practice now. Or you can come over to our Zen Mama Tribe Vimeo, and on the Vimeo, that's where you can get this full practice. And I'm going to be weaving this breathing technique into a full yoga practice, and we can practice it together. All right, so good luck. Keep you tuning into your balloon breathing and your bubble breathing, and I hope to see you again on our channel soon. Take care. Namaste.